All right, so you send me hot takes, and I rate it on Spencer's scale of agreement, and I love it. It can be about quarterbacks, receivers, tight ends, offensive linemen, coaching staff. I don't care. You throw them in. Okay, this one, this is hot take. This is hot take central. This is from a Locked On Ducks insider. You get priority mailbag access and a bunch of other perks as well. Send all your takes, questions, and whatnot. My take, while both quarterbacks are very capable, referring to Dante Moore and Austin Novosad has more potential to lead the Ducks to a national championship than Dante Moore. I asked why. He said, what makes me say that is I see more from Novosad as far as arm talent, being able to make correct reads, and the fact that this is his third year in the Oregon offense. I think he's making major strides every year. He's on the cusp of being really special. So you're kind of saying two different things there at the end of it, because I think he's making strides every year. I am on a 10 agreement level there. On the cusp of being really special, I'm on a 7 because I need to see him in game action, but certainly I understand what you are talking about. For your base take that Novosad has more potential to lead the Ducks to a national championship than Dante Moore, I am at a 2. The only reason this isn't a 1, and I guess I can give out a 0 take, but I give this a 2 for one reason and one reason only. Novosad is in his third year with Will Stein. Dante Moore is in his second. I think that's a great situation to be in, to where imagine if Novosad wasn't on the roster and it was Dante Moore backed up by Luke Moga and Achilles Smith Jr. Redshirt freshman who was incredibly raw coming out of high school and looked awesome in the spring game, and a true freshman. That's not your ideal backup quarterback situation. Novosad isn't necessarily 10 out of 10, 5 stars, no notes as a backup. However, he's more experienced than most. So does he have a bunch of game experience? No. But familiarity with the offense is not something that can be overlooked. And when I've discussed these two and their alleged, according to Dan Lanning and the staff, quarterback battle all spring long, that's always been Austin's biggest potential advantage, has been this is his third year in the system, so he might know more at the line of scrimmage. He might have a better feel for the plays and what Stein's going to call and what that means about, which coverage he needs to stay away from or which look he's got to, switch to protection and all that sort of stuff, right? He could theoretically, because he's only had one offensive coordinator and one offense his entire career, he could be ahead of Dante Moore in that realm. However, to the rest of your point, this is the other 8 of my take, right? My scale of agreement is at a 2 because you say as arm talent, being able to make correct reads, and the fact that this is his third year in the Oregon offense. We haven't seen enough from Novosad in real game action to know whether he makes the right reads. The limited stuff we have seen, it's looked good. The spring game looked good. And I agree, he can make really good and special throws. But to say that Novosad has more arm talent than Dante Moore, just factually inaccurate. Doesn't mean that Novosad couldn't wind up being a better quarterback than Dante Moore one day. It's 100% feasible. Jeremiah Masoli didn't have the traits of Ty Thompson. Who's a better quarterback? I think we all know the answer to that question. But arm talent, Moore was the 5-star for a reason. And Novosad, again, was a top 10, 15 quarterback in the class. This was not some diamond in the rough, long-term project sort of recruit, which is kind of what Luke Moga is, who I expect to be the third stringer this year. I think that Novosad has all the talent needed to start for Oregon or another Power 4 program and succeed. He was recruited to Oregon to be a starting quarterback. Baylor thought they had him to be their starting quarterback, and then he flipped to the Ducks. So, yeah, I agree with you on the Novosad upside and potential, but to say it's more than Dante Moore, don't see that, which is why I'm at a 2, because the upside of Dante Moore is as high as any Oregon quarterback as we've had in the last several years, or frankly ever. I mean, there's a really high bar to clear. I mean, you've got Bo Nix, you've got Dylan Gabriel, of course. You've got Mariota. You've got Herbert. Pretty high bar to clear. Herbert's stats in college were not as good as what he's had in the NFL because he's had better quarterback coaching and better offensive coaching in the NFL by like a lot. A lot. So anyway, bottom line is that one's a 2. And Dante Moore can be great. Novosad could also be great. I expect it to be Dante Moore. He is the more talented player. He moves a little bit better than Novosad does. He's got a little bit more built of a built frame. And he has not just, I think, a stronger arm. I think their accuracy and ball placement is exquisite, both of them. I don't think there's a huge gap there between the two when you look at their deep ball accuracy in particular. Dante Moore, though, when I say arm talent, he's got the ability to drop down and throw from more angles. I think he just has a little bit more in the tool bag. And again, does not guarantee he'll be a better quarterback. Does guarantee he's got better traits. So keep the hot takes coming and whatnot. There are plenty more that I'll get to this week on the show. And I could not end today's show, of course, without mentioning the newest Duck. That's James Ferguson. No relation to Terrence that I'm aware of, since Terrence is from California and James is from Australia, originally by way of Boise State. You may remember he came into Autzen last year and booted a 68-yard punt. He's now an Oregon Duck. Now, I came on this very show after the spring game and said, Oregon doesn't need a punter. Ross James had a bad day. It's whatever. Ross James has been good. Ross James was good last year. Well, they've got competition. Luke Dunn went to Washington, and Oregon's a fan of the 2-punter system. I get it. You want to keep guys sharp. You don't want them to get complacent, or you feel like one guy has more of a skill. Like Dunn was more of a placement putter, a short yardage sorted guy in kicking situations, and James was more of the boomer. And Ferguson was a Ray Guy Award semifinalist in 2023, first team All-Mountain West, second or third team All-American, depending on which service that you look at. Oregon's a Big Ten team now. Oregon's a real Big Ten team now, because are you really a member of the Big Ten until you place such a priority on punting that you go out and add a punter in the transfer portal? It's pretty amazing. This is the noisiest move Oregon had in the spring transfer portal window. I mean, Roderick Pleasant transferred to UCLA. Oregon has a lot of talented DBs that were blue chip recruits. Luke Dunn transferred to Washington. Well, here you go. You bring in a punter who was a one-time All-American selection. And elsewhere you look around, you're just kind of going a walk-on or two left. And yeah, I mean, that was kind of it. I think there was one other move, but there was nothing major. There was nothing huge. They didn't add a linebacker. They still technically could, because the transfer portal window is when you can enter. You can actually exit at any time. Amari Campbell, the linebacker in North Carolina, is still available. And, I mean, he's a really good player. Really good player. He had like a 72 PFF grade last year. He had 45 tackles, 6.5 sacks. He's good. Oregon was adamant they're not adding a transfer linebacker, meaning I don't think they're adding a transfer anywhere. And I didn't think they'd add a punter, but hey, James Ferguson's a Duck. Go look up his headshot pick on the Boise State website, and you'll like this guy immediately. Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and go Ducks.